Now, for substitution, solving by substitution, remember when I say solve, I'm looking for the x and the y value that make the two statements true. For substitution, on my two equations, one of them should have a letter by itself, whether it's x or y, one letter by itself. In this case, y. Everything that I have for y, I'm going to substitute it for the y on the other equation. That's what we call a substitution. So let me rewrite the first equation as 2x plus 3, open parentheses, 3x plus 13, close parentheses, equals 6. So I wrote that as 2x plus 3y equals 6, but I replaced my value of y for 3x plus 13, right? I substituted. Now let me get rid of parentheses by multiplying the 3 to the inside. So I have 2x plus 9x plus 39 is equal to 6. I know I teach you guys a little different than most of your algebra teachers, but when you guys had algebra, I always say letters on one side, numbers on the other. 39, let me move it to the right as a negative 39. So on the left, I have 2x plus 9x, so that's 11x. On the right, I have 6 minus 39, that is negative 33. Divide both sides by 11, x equals negative 3. We solved half of our answer.
Yeah.
That's half. Because now we solve for x. Before we solve for y, yes.
Oh, so you just took y out?
Yeah, but right now I just solve for x. So like I said, we're halfway there. Now for us to solve for y, let me use this equation. Instead of x, I'm going to write negative 3, because I know what x is. So let me rewrite that as y equals 3 times negative 3 plus 13. So that's negative 9 plus 13. We can agree y is equal to 4. So my solution is negative 3, 4. You're supposed to find the value of the x and y. So two values. By writing everything in terms of x, we can solve for x. Once we solve for x, we go and solve for y. Let me show you guys another example. Remember, in one of my equations, one letter has to be by itself. X or y, but one letter. For number 2, everything that I have over here for y, I'm going to replace it for the y on the other equation. So let me rewrite this as 3x minus 2, open parentheses, 2x minus 6 equals 13. Multiply the negative 2 to the inside. 3x minus 4x plus 12 is equal to 13. Letters on one side, numbers on the other. So the plus 12, let me move it to the right side as a minus 12. So I have that negative x is equal to 1. But I simplified each side. 3 minus 4 gave me negative 1. 13 minus 12 gave me 1. So we can agree x equals negative 1. Now for me to solve for y, I'm going to say y equals 2 times negative 1 minus 6. Notice I'm using y equals 2x minus 6. So that's negative 2 minus 6. So y equals negative 8. My solution will be negative 1, negative 8. Right? To be honest, when we have more than one equation, so we have 2 equations this time, we call that system of equations. There's 3 methods on how to solve it. Graphing, which we already saw, substitution, we're looking at, and tomorrow we're going to look at elimination. Which one of the 3 you use, it does not matter. So like if you wanted to do this one by graphing, you can solve it by graphing if that's what you wish. If you want to do it by graphing, you can ask me for a graph And what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a worksheet from graphing, not for you to solve that worksheet, but for you to use the graph. So if you want to do it by graphing, let me know and I'll give you graphs. That way you solve it by graphing. Now the previous one, the graphing, if you want to solve it by substitution, go for it. But now let me skip on this one. Let me skip to number 15. And the reason why I'm looking at 15, because I know by substitution, one of my letters has to be by itself. And in neither of my equations have a letter by itself. But we can easily get x by itself on the second equation if you move 7y to the right. So that one you have x equals negative 7y minus 2. Remember, my thing was get a letter by itself. It doesn't matter which one. We got x by itself. Now, everything that I have for x, I'm going to replace it for x on the first one. So I'm going to have 7, open parentheses, negative 7y minus 2, close parentheses, minus 3y is equal to negative 14. So in this case, I'm going to solve for y first. Eliminate parentheses, so you have negative 49y minus 14 minus 3y is equal to minus 14, or negative 14. Letters on one side, numbers on the other, so this negative 14, let me move it to the other side as a positive 14. When I combine the y's, negative 49, negative 3, I get negative 52y. When I combine negative 14, positive 14, I get 0. I think we can agree y is equal to 0, right? For us to solve for x, I'm going to use the equation x equals negative 7 times 0 minus 2. I'm using the equation where we had x by itself. That is basically 0 minus 2, so x equals negative 2. So my solution should be negative 2, 0. Do notice that it doesn't matter that we solve for y first. On the parentheses, put x first. Right? They come in alphabetical order, not the order you solve it. So make sure you put x and then y, not the order you solve it. All right. Any questions? Rules? Yeah. Let me take them over really quick.